Welcome to episode 18 of Retrotopia, where Sam and Brian, that would be me, are going to be talking about another game that we love, and for the first time, we're playing one in a very, very long series of video games. And what is that, Sam?
Today we are talking about Final Fantasy III, the actual Final Fantasy III, not the Super Nintendo Final Fantasy III, which was 6. This is the one that we didn't get, Final Fantasy III for the Nintendo.
So Final Fantasy III, not 6, which is named 3 on the Super Nintendo, but only in North America. Okay, I got you.
Yes.
Make some notes on that.
We'll call it Final Fantasy Actual 3.
Yeah, Final Fantasy Actual 3. Pixel Remaster, of course.
Yes, Pixel Remaster.
All right. So what's been going on with you before we get into the game discussion?
Not too much. We were just talking a little bit before the pod here. It's been a busy week, getting ready for a work trip coming up, so I will have some limited time this week to cram everything in, and I've made myself a nice to-do list, so I've been checking some things off. How about you?
I spent the weekend over at a couple of friends' house, went to a retro arcade, like an actual retro arcade.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're talking like Bubble Bobble,
Mm-hmm.
Asteroids, Miss Pac-Man. No regular Pac-Man though, and a bunch of pinball machines, and of course it's a beercade too, so I'm drinking my
Nice.
face off. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
What is the difference between Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man, really?
A bow?
Sorry.
I
Yeah.
honestly don't know. Like,
get right out of town. No, that's a Wayne's World reference. If you know, you know.
yeah, you do if you know.
What was your game of choice at the arcade?
I kind of walked around, did a little bit of everything, and then there's these setups with N64s and Super Nintendos and regular Nintendos there, where they actually put emulators with ROM. So
Ooh.
me and the buddy there, and he knows who he is. We played a little bit of video games, a little bit of Darkwing Duck, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we both suck at it and couldn't get past level 1. Mind you, the booth had this 42-inch TV about 3 inches from your face, so it wasn't exactly the easiest setup to see.
I'm sure the beverages didn't help starting a game that you hadn't played. Have you played Darkwing Duck before?
Oh, a long time ago. No,
Yeah.
it didn't help.
Yeah.
Especially that too, and like all the shiny lights and stuff. I just wanted to walk around.
Yeah.
Played Turtles the arcade with the boys.
Yeah. All right.
That was a good time. Except for, the game is designed for kids because 3 grown adults side by side. There's no room for the 4th player, right?
Yeah.
Like we're just shoved in there.
Hey, beat it, kid. We're standing here.
Yeah, pretty much. And that was the other thing is, even though like we went in the afternoon when it opened, and it just turned into kind of dumping ground for people's kids so they could go sit and drink or whatever.
Yeah.
There was a lot of kids running around, and I'm all for kids learning retro games. It's just, if they're gonna run in between you and the arcade, don't be surprised if one of them knocks their head on something. Like,
Oh yeah.
like I'm not gonna knee a kid, like, publicly.
I'm not going to knee a kid on purpose.
Yeah, but I turned around and like my hand was at my side, and I almost wiped a kid's face off the off his nose. Or what's the saying? I almost wiped his nose off his face with my hand, just like turning there. It's like they're all over the place. Of course, the little fuckers hog the Mario Kart.
Oh man. Well,
Everybody hogs Mario Kart.
Yeah, it is a great game. We'll be talking about that one pretty soon, won't we?
Oh yes, we will. That's coming up actually sometime in April, I believe.
Yeah, and I think this is probably a good time to plug our Discord real quick, because if you want to see at least a few photos of Brian and his pals over the weekend and their exploits at the arcade, you can join us on our free Discord.
You can, and you can find that at linktr.ee /Retrotopia. And
yeah, which slash is it? I don't know. Try both.
I think it's / Yeah, just try it until it works.
Yeah, just try.
Yeah. And if you don't know what Linktree is, it's spelled linktr.ee /Retrotopia.
Yes. I think you're right. I think it is a /. The backslash is like for programming and shit.
Yes. Something like that. I have no idea. The proper slash. If it doesn't work, try the other one. If that doesn't work, then I've tried.
Yep, and then you can't be helped.
Yeah, exactly. We are sorry. All right, so we didn't get any comments about or general comments this time. So let's just roll right in. What have you been playing there, Sam?
Lots of stuff, actually. I've been carving out lots of time for gaming. Sonic the Hedgehog this weekend, which was a fun time. I've been playing Castlevania Dracula X for an upcoming episode, and then I went down like as my mind does, kind of went a little bonkers and I pulled out my old PSP and started playing Rondo of Blood, and then found out that it was 80% off on the PlayStation Network and downloaded it to my PS5 and started playing it there. So I've been like my brain has been buzzing with the Castlevania. So that's primarily what I've been playing, and then I went back into this is my third my third attempt on Shining Force. I've been playing that again. So how about you?
I started Dracula X there, and I'm not a very good Dracula player or
No.
Castlevania player, so I've been getting the lay of the land and trying to move around. This game is just kind of, I guess it's a little above my level right now. I just need a little bit
Yeah.
of practice. But mostly I've been playing Intermission, like Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission there, just to get ready
Ooh.
for this week when Rebirth comes out.
Yeah. Is that where you get to play as Yuffie or Yuffie?
Yeah,
Yuffie.
Yuffie.
Cool.
Not a bad game. It kind of takes place concurrently with the main game there, and there's actually a scene in it where you almost cross paths, but you don't actually cross paths.
Oh, cool. Because
Yeah.
do you take her perspective as she's like in the woods of like you're in like Wutai or whatever, and
Well, you're in Midgar in this game, so you end
okay.
up at in district, the 7th district there, and you're by 7th Heaven, and it's right after where Cloud falls off after the second Mako reactor is blown up.
Uh-huh.
So the three of them are arriving back. Like the Avalanche group is arriving back, talking about how Cloud is, he's alive still, and then that's the moment where Tifa takes off to go to Wall Market.
Uh-huh.
So you're seeing it from the perspective you don't see it in the actual game. You're seeing it from Yuffie watching them talk about this.
Oh, so she's like, like an expanded universe version of Final Fantasy VII. She's been
Yeah,
kind of following them for quite a while.
basically they made a story out of what you don't see.
That's awesome. I like that kind of stuff. That's exactly why I like old Star Wars expanded universe. Like pick background shit and throw something in there that is
Yeah,
happening concurrently. Yeah.
absolutely.
Cool.
All right, you
All
ready
right.
to get what was the saying from Letterkenny? Ready to fuck this pig?
Yeah, let's fuck this pig. Or how do you want to fuck this pig is the
Oh yeah, something like that. We'll get it.
Yeah.
All right. So before we're going to start the discussion, I'm going to
Oh,
give
yeah.
a brief overview of the two of the game. Well, the game and some of the versions we're going to talk. So when I come back, or when we come back, me and Sam are going to give a little bit of more in-depth detail on the different versions.
Yeah. No,
So
you were right. When I come back, I won't be here.
yeah, that's right. All right. Anyways, here we go. Final Fantasy III, initially releasing for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1990, marked a significant milestone in the renowned Final Fantasy series. Developed and published by Square, the game was a collaborative effort led by a talented team of developers including Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of the Final Fantasy series, Koichi Ishii, the director, and Nobuo Uematsu, the composer. The NES version of Final Fantasy III introduced a job system allowing characters to change classes and acquire different abilities, adding strategic depth to the gameplay. The narrative follows 4 orphans who discover the power of the crystals and embark on a quest to save their world from the impending doom. The game's turn-based combat system, diverse job classes, and the memorable soundtrack by Nobuo Uematsu contributed to its success. Despite being well received in Japan, the NES version of Final Fantasy III was not officially released in North America. Instead, Western audiences were introduced to Final Fantasy IV as Final Fantasy II, creating confusion in the series' numbering. It wasn't until 2006 that players outside of Japan got to experience Final Fantasy III through a 3D remake for the Nintendo DS. This version featured updated graphics, redesigned characters, and a more immersive presentation. The job system remained a core element, and the narrative received an additional depth. The DS remake also used dual screens, utilizing the lower screen for map and navigation and other functions. The Nintendo DS version of Final Fantasy III introduced players to a more nuanced portrayal of the game's characters. The 4 protagonists, initially nameless in the NES version, were given distinct identities: Luneth, Ark, Refia, and Ignis. This addition of the names enhanced the narrative experience, allowing players to form a stronger connection with the characters and their journey. Luneth emerged as a brave and curious protagonist, Ark showcased a more reserved and scholarly demeanor, Refia embodied a strong will and independent personality, and Ignis portrayed a loyal and steadfast companion. These names not only personalized the characters, but also contributed to the overall emotional resonance of the game, enriching the player's engagement with the unfolding epic. Square Enix revisited the game again in 2021 with the Pixel Remaster. This version aimed to retain the charm of the original while enhancing the graphics for modern platforms. The Pixel Remaster featured pixel art reminiscent of the 8-bit era, reimagined music tracks, and a quality of life improvements such as an auto battle option and a quick save feature. Throughout its various iterations, Final Fantasy III has received positive critical acclaim. Despite its limited release, the NES version gained recognition for its innovative job system and engaging storyline. The DS remake was praised for revitalizing the classic with updated visuals and additional content, introducing the game to a new generation of players. The Pixel Remaster series continued this legacy, with Final Fantasy III earning praise for successfully marrying nostalgia with modern enhancements. In conclusion, Final Fantasy III has evolved over the years from its NES roots to the DS remake and most recently the Pixel Remaster. The development team's dedication to preserving the essence of the original while embracing the advancements in technology has allowed this classic to endure and captivate audiences across multiple generations. All right, that was great by me. Thanks,
Good job, Brian.
Oh, you're still here, Sam.
Yeah.
I thought you left.
I didn't get my walking papers.
All right, so we actually have a couple of letters, or we have a couple of messages from our people on our Discord about the game. So, Sam, do you want to take us away with old Super Dave there?
Yeah. So Super Dave says, this was my introduction to Final Fantasy and also the first one I beat. I do wish there was more of a storyline like Final Fantasy IV, but the job system is a lot of fun to play with. That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever encountered anyone who says that Final Fantasy III is their first one, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
The original wasn't really released in North America, but I guess depending when you actually played your first Final Fantasy game, you could call it your first one.
Could have been on the DS, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving along. Unbuckled Kate says, could someone explain the numbers to me? Thank you. And I'm going to put a note here to interject a children's TV show about numbers.
Yeah. Can someone please explain numbers to Unbuckled?
Well, let's go through the real numbers. So you got 1, 2, 3, and then 4, which is actually 2 in North America. Then you have 5, which wasn't released, and you go back to 3, which is actually 6 in Japan.
Cool.
You got 7, 8, 9, then you got 10, and then 10, 2.
Got it.
Yeah, it keeps going. Fuck, 11, 12, 13, 13, 2, 13, 3.
Oh.
14, which is an MMO. 15, which is actually supposed to be 13 verses, and then 16.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Understood. That's like the difference. Explaining the difference is like between like the Japanese releases and the US releases is like trying to explain the like English system of measurement to someone versus the metric.
Absolutely. Well, if you have 10 meters, what you actually have is like 3 or 4 feet or something like that.
Yeah, but then there's 10 too.
Yeah. All right, you want to finish us off?
Yeah. We got Zodiac, who says, until the Pixel Remaster, this was probably one of my least favorite games in the series. The NES game has a lot of advancements over the previous games, but the shallow job system, along with requirements to have certain jobs in certain situations, and a brutal final dungeon kept the game from really taking off. The DS remake was a great effort, but the characters and plot felt forced because, well, they were. But the Pixel Remaster, for some reason, hit all the right buttons. While it didn't fix the bland job system, it did make an already great soundtrack even better and balance the difficulty to where it becomes a fun romp. It still has issues, but the Pixel Remaster was my second favorite of the batch, only behind Final Fantasy V.
Yeah, well said.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the job system is pretty bland, but you kinda gotta forgive it because it is their first attempt at it, and it's shoved
Yeah.
on a Nintendo cartridge.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if it was, we'll talk about the jobs, but there were like those 2 or 3 ones that you could unlock at the end, and I don't know if that was in the original game or not, but I made great use of them.
Yeah, and I just went with the old 4, dragoons there and then just basically jumped my way to the end of the game.
The old 4 Dragoon, fuck you.
Yeah. But speaking of 4 dragoons, there's actually 4 different versions of the game, we should talk about first. So, I'll
Yeah.
go over one, then you can go over the next, and then we'll go back and forth until finally, we both fall back in exhaustion.
That
Alright.
doesn't sound like you're describing,
I was not.
the Final Fantasy here. Okay,
You
yeah.
know. Yeah,
Or
alright,
maybe it is
so
a fantasy of some sort. Go ahead.
yeah. Alright, released in 1990, the original NES version was released in, Japan only, so on the Famicom, and marked a significant milestone for the franchise. With its introduction of the job system, it had a compelling narrative. It kinda set the foundation for, the series' future success, because you will see the job system again in subsequent Final Fantasy games.
Yes.
Um Yeah, so this is, I did play this one on a ROM, but the, text was kinda wonky, so I didn't actually
Mm.
get more than an hour into it before I kinda forgot what I was supposed to do without the text telling me, so
Yeah, and this is a case where I'd be interested to see how certain parts of this game worked in the original version, but I would really have no interest in playing a translation of this because it would have to be some sort of a fan translation.
yeah, and that's the thing is it was translated in the menus and, like, all the options for fighting, it's just the text it wasn't, like, in Japanese, it was literally gibberish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it
Gi
was a bad ROM, that's all it was.
Gibberishies.
Yeah.
Well, that's no good. So let's talk about the Nintendo DS remake. Those came out. Well, it's 2006 for the DS remake, and then what's the 2008? Oh, North America. So
Yeah,
so they got a 3D remake, right? In 2006 in Japan, 2008 in North America and Europe. Featured updated 3D graphics, some reimagined character designs, and revamped job classes. So this is where they must have added a few different classes that weren't in
yeah,
the original.
and they kinda shoehorned I guess, a more polished story into a game that, didn't really need a more polished story.
Yeah, yeah. The remake introduced the game to, and this is the first time we saw it outside of
Yeah.
probably, there were probably uh, ROMs of it floating around before this came out, but this was really the first time that we had a legitimate way to play it. So
Yeah, and I actually have this game, and again, I popped it into the DS and I gave it a shot there, and I don't know, something about the original Final Fantasies, like the 1 through 6,
mhm.
if they've been done in 3D, and this one and Final Fantasy IV, I believe, were redone in 3D, they don't feel right.
Yeah, it's got a weird vibe to it.
Yeah, and also at the same time, it kind of starts off a little bit different because instead of having the 4 Onion Knights, you start off with 1 now named character, and it's just I
Yeah,
don't know. It
and
plays this Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, it's not particularly difficult to get through that first dungeon, but you do have to do it with, I believe, 1, maybe 2
It
characters
just
instead of
I
having the
only
whole
had
party.
1 character by the time I put it down and just kinda ran out of time to play any further,
Yeah.
but, I might go back to it, like, I've had it in my collection for so long, and the first time I've actually played it was for this.
Yeah.
So I used to just buy games and then, never play them. Looking at
Yeah,
Xenosaga
that'll
1
happen.
through 3.
Yeah. Alright, you wanna talk about
Yeah, the
the
subsequent
next remake?
releases and
Yep.
platforms after the DS remake, we saw some releases on other various platforms, including the iOS, Android, and the PSP. They maintained more of the core elements of the original, and then added some features, enhancing the graphics a little bit, and making it more accessible to a larger audience. Uh, yeah, so
Now,
that nothing really to write home. You can play it on your phone.
yeah, this is the first version I played, and I've had it on my phone. I mean, I've had an iPhone for, I don't know, what now, like 15 years, but I've had it on my phone for the better part of a decade or more, and started it several times and never finished it. So I mean, it's fun, but I never
Yeah.
got past the first um like Sky Island thing.
Yeah, it takes a special type of gamer to be able to play on your phone. Like, I played Final Fantasy V on my phone, and
Yeah.
it took me forever because getting used to the touch controls or touch screen as the controls was just kind of, wonky.
Yeah, I dislike playing games on the iPhone. I just can't do it. I don't understand it.
Yeah. Alright, so the last
Yeah.
one is,
Is the
go ahead.
Pixel
It
Remaster.
is.
This is the version that Brian and I both played. They've been out for a few years now, I believe. They were available for a while just on, I think, maybe the PlayStation Network and Steam.
It was on
Um,
Steam and cell phones at first, and then it
oh,
came
cell
out to
phones.
everything else.
That's
Yeah.
right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, cell phones.
Because I have 6 on my cell phone, and again, I've never touched it. I don't know why I bought it.
just cause.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this is probably the definitive version, I would say. Just
This
it's
is this is definitely the way to play it nowadays.
yeah.
Like, they improved it just enough that it's great, and it has a couple of, little things. If you just wanna play the story, you can kinda cut the grinding with boost if you're really that type of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely got the charm of the original plus all the enhancements of the modern Pixel remasters, which I've played now 3 of the 6 original Final Fantasy games on the Pixel Remaster cartridge, and they are all fantastic.
So,
They are
outside
great.
of the Pixel Remaster, have you played any of the original, 6 Final Fantasies?
First 3. I had the first 2 on my PSP, back in the PSP days and played those, but I never had access to 4 and 6, the Super Nintendo ones, and not 5 either. 5 is another one we didn't get over here for a while, and I
Yeah.
didn't get it on the Advance. Although I wish I had, because by all accounts, Final Fantasy V on the Game Boy Advance is really good.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think I have
yeah.
that cartridge actually sitting in the basement in a box somewhere. It kinda got, shuffled away in one of our moves, and I've never been able to find it, but I know it's in my house somewhere.
Didn't you hate that feeling?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I am very eager to dig into 4, 5, and 6 now that I've
Oh, yeah. One
made
day
it
we're
through
gonna
3.
talk about 6, I'm gonna force you into it because that's my favorite of the series.
Well, that's fine. You don't have to force me. I'll play.
Oh, no, I'm gonna twist your arm, and I'm gonna make you do it, daddy. I mean, what?
You just want to hurt me somehow.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't
All right.
about the games anymore.
No. So yeah, definitely pick up the Pixel Remaster. It is a very very good
Yeah, it's
whole, as a
special.
collection as a whole is great, very good.
Yeah, especially if you're a Final Fantasy fan there. I mean, this is absolutely something you should already have.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good one. I pre-ordered it when it was rumored to be coming out, and then the physical Switch copy, I jumped all over it.
Yeah. All right. So, just to let everybody know, we are going to be focusing on the Pixel Remaster because we have to play what's available to us, and this was the version available to both of us. So, this is
Yep.
how we plan to, tackle this game. So let's start off with our favorite question of the week. Why did we choose this game, Sam?
This was the next one on the list for me that I hadn't completed. I had played 1 and 2, and I can't remember if you or I suggested 3, but um,
Somebody suggested it. It made the
somebody
list somehow.
somebody did, and here it is. And I'm
Yeah.
glad we played it, because this has got to be probably one of my favorite games that I've played for the show.
Yeah, this is I played this one first. Actually, this is the only game on the Remaster I've played so far because I've
Hmm.
played all the other games with the PlayStation version of 1 and 2 and then, 5 on my cell phone and then 4 and 6 on the Super Nintendo there. So this one was a good one to start with. So this is the first game I played and I friggin' loved it after I
Yeah,
finished it the first time through.
it's great.
So yeah, definitely a great Final Fantasy to start with, and it doesn't jump the shark too early.
No, it does some really fucking cool shit that I didn't anticipate, because I luckily did not get spoiled for all the cool stuff that happened. So there will be spoilers. Um, well, obviously we're going to spoil some stuff, but if you are interested in playing it, I would suggest maybe not listening to the spoilers. Maybe we can say, give people a warning
I
before we.
don't. think that's how it can. We're not really going to dive too deep into the story, anyways. We're going to talk about like a little bit of the plot elements, but we're not going to give away anything big. It's just
Okay. All right.
yeah, it's not like our earlier episodes where we went level by level. We're trying to focus
No.
more on actually reviewing points of the game rather than the whole
Right.
game itself.
No, but there are definitely a couple things that I will talk about that blew my mind. That would probably spoil some things.
Oh
But
yeah, and then if you feel like it's going to be a spoiler, just tell people to
yeah,
stop listening to us. And we had a good bump in numbers this week, so you might as well
yeah,
kill the podcast now, Sam.
yeah. Earmuffs, everyone. I'm going to talk about something really cool that happens in this game.
Oh my god,
Um,
this was the greatest thing in the world. Wait, spoiler alerts.
so, spoiler alert.
Kill the mood. All right, so do you want to talk a little bit about the story and the plot here?
Yeah. Um, so this is kind of the reworked plot as was done in the remake for I think the DS version and definitely the iOS version because that's the one I played. But you have four. You have four orphans that aren't named in the Pixel Remaster. They do have names in the remake, the
Yeah, and
3D remake.
we'll go over those in a bit.
Yeah, we're not going to worry about that right now. So you're four orphans that discover their destiny as the warriors of light, and they are tasked with finding four elemental crystals that are the source of the world's balance. There is the wind, water, fire, and earth crystal.
Hot. All with your powers combined, I
Yeah,
am Captain Planet.
yeah.
That's every time like I go over this and I'm writing it, that's all I can think of is earth, fire, wind, water, hot.
Or if you want to feel like you're walking around in the grocery store, you can put on some Earth, Wind, and Fire,
Oh, there you go.
but not water, because fuck water. Um, and then Zand is your antagonist here. He is looking to exploit the crystals and disrupt the harmony between light and darkness. Okay, so then the heroes embark on a quest to prevent Zan's plan and restore balance to the crystals. So you have to go through and find, you're going on a quest for these four crystals, which I thought was pretty cool. It gave the story like kind of a nice linear path that's like, okay, we got one. Now I know what I need to do. I need to go after this next crystal, right?
Yeah.
Um, so the game features a job system, and the jobs are actually tied into which crystal you've unlocked.
Yeah,
So the
that was
first,
kind of a neat
yeah,
thing.
I liked it. It was a little flat. I do like a job tree because I like to be able to like nerd
Yeah.
out and plan where like I want to get, the Dragoon and the Ninja and the, whatever. But this was basically different jobs were unlocked behind each crystal. And each time you got a new crystal, you got a new set of jobs that you could go into. So then actually it kind of made it a little bit tough because you had to kind of grind once you got a crystal. It's like, okay, let's try out some of these jobs and see if any of them fit my play style or anything. But you switch jobs and you're back at level 1 for your new
Yeah,
job. So
which is kind of weird. Like, what did the job levels actually do? Because I never noticed a difference. Like, it's not like I could equip better weapons or the job would do something harder or I'd get more abilities.
um, I think for some of them it must have made the abilities better. I know for some of the ones that had like magical abilities, you could learn more. Like it unlocked higher um,
Okay, that
magic
makes
levels,
sense.
right? For like the black mage and the white mage. There's a red mage.
Yeah, I guess my problem is I really did kind of stick with the dragoon system there, and just
Yeah.
because it was almost too broken. Like all I do was jump, and nobody would be able to be hit, and then they would land down. Then you get the blood lances,
Yes.
and they absorb hit points, so they're basically healing themselves when they land.
Those dragoons were broken as fuck.
Yeah, but let's skip that until the dragoon portion of the show.
Yeah, where we just talk about how awesome the dragoon is.
And then there was other jobs.
Ninja was pretty awesome too. We can go into that. I did enjoy the
Yeah,
ninja quite a
I
bit.
got a list of the different jobs down below, so we'll just finish the
Yeah.
plot here.
Yeah, we'll go through it.
I'll try to stop distracting you.
No. It's all good stuff.
No, it's not.
No, no, it's not. It's certainly not. um, so yeah, the exploration includes a vast world map. Emphasis on vast world map without giving away too much, but it's pretty awesome. There
What
are
he means is the map is pretty big.
Yeah, it is pretty big. There's airship exploration, which is awesome.
Has several types of airships.
Yeah, which I thought that was so cool. all the, and you kept like, there were a couple times when you would lose your airship and I'd be like, oh god damn it, and then it was like, no, but like complete this task and you'll get a better one.
Yeah, the only thing that bothered me about the airship was that you can't fly over mountains. There's the one that kinda
Yeah,
hops over, like, specific parts of the mountain, but, oh god, it always drove me that, like, you have to run into the friggin' mountain there, you're like, "Ah, crap, this thing can't fly high enough for mountains," so you have to go all the way around, and, I mean, minor inconvenience, but at the
yeah.
end of the day, I mean, why can't this ship fly over mountains?
Actually, that part, um, because there basically, what Brian's talking about is there was an airship called the, what was it called? It was like the Dreadnought or the Destroyer or something, like some big huge one that you get, and it can fly over mountains, but it can only fly over like thin little strips of mountain. And they actually made a maze out of it in on one of the
Yeah.
continents, and that was really fun. So that, I mean, it was kind of an irritant, like while you were trying to figure it out. But then once I figured it out, I was like, "Whoa, this is actually really clever." There's like a little maze through here.
Yeah, and the name of the airship you're thinking of is the Invincible.
The Invincible. I was close. It was started with a D.
It started with a
the
D.
the Invincible.
It started with an alphabet letter.
Yeah, it started with a letter, so I was close. I was in the area. Um, yeah. So I mean, you're facing, you know, powerful adversaries. Both, you'd get to this next dungeon, and I don't know about you, but I would explore until I got to the next portion, and then find that, I was getting my ass kicked like as soon as I walked into the next dungeon, because they just change it up, and the creatures you're fighting in random encounters are just throwing completely different things at you
Yeah, you
at some
definitely
points.
had to sit and grind for a little bit. I turned on the boost at one point there just to
Hmm.
kinda catch up because I was starting to fall a little bit too far behind, and
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like spending the time, grinding that long just because I wanted to get through the story of the game to remind myself about it, so, yeah, I
Yeah.
kinda cheesed the game a little bit.
Yeah, there's one point in particular where, you go into the next dungeon and they kind of hint that if you attack these creatures with conventional weapons, they multiply, and I just got my ass handed to me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I think the Dark Knight, um, was it the Dark Knight or a Black Knight or whatever? There's a knight, and there's a knight, a regular knight, and then there's a Black Knight, and it's got like very specific weapons that you can wield, and those weapons that the Black Knight wields will attack these creatures and they won't multiply. So then you have to work that into your strategy. And I think for the longest time, and I think maybe through the end of the game, I had a Black Knight in my party.
Yeah, and, that's kinda what Zodiac was talking about earlier in the
Yeah.
game. The original had that where certain jobs had to be used at certain times, kind of
Oh, like the
yeah.
scholar.
Yeah, forcing you into a kind of a path. Actually, the scholar for me was pretty strong. Like I just
Yeah.
gave 2 books and, laid knowledge on the enemies.
I love that scholar class, or just like your weapon is a book, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
got an elemental power. So there's like a fire tome, an ice tome,
Yeah, and
lightning,
you
and
just slap them with a book there.
yeah, just like beat them with a book. And the animations are great too. It's just like whack, 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 whack with a book.
Yeah. Eat literature, nerd.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's my kind of class. I love that. I got a lot of books around here, so smacking people with them.
Yeah, there you go. Assert your dominance.
Yeah. Um, anything else on here?
Not really,
Yeah,
like, once you
yeah,
do all that, you go fight the, big baddie there, and we'll get to him in a little bit, and then credits roll.
yeah. There's some good, some fun boss fights. Some really fun little, um, not side quests, because they are all part of the main quest, like leading into things. But I mean, there's times when you have to shrink yourself down.
I
Um, I
did
love
not
those
like
parts.
that. I didn't mind the frog because,
Oh,
you
the
could
frogs too.
or the toad, because you could bring
Yeah.
yourself back up, but going through that one level, mini the whole time, and you had to use magic,
Yes.
like,
Yeah. Or run. Just
or
run.
run, yeah. Well, I ran because I didn't wanna burn all my magic by the time I got to the boss, and then I just unloaded everything I had on him. It was,
Yeah. I would say I didn't love the MP system. It was like you had a certain number of, um
uses of a magic thing, and you had to buy the
yeah.
magic and equip it kind of like, I don't know, a materia or some crap.
Yeah, it wasn't like you have an MP bar or anything, and then like say fire takes 3 or something like that. It would be like your level 1 fire or your level 1 set of magic, you have 27 MP for that set of magic. So as
Yeah.
you progress up the stronger magic, you have less and less MP to use,
Yeah, and
or less and less attempts to use it. And I found that difficult to manage.
yeah, I just like I said, after a while, I just got away from the magic and just
Right.
walked through or jumped through.
Yeah, jump through the whole game with your dragoons.
All right, so
Um,
let's shift over to the protagonists from the DS version because I wrote
oh
them
yeah.
down because this is where they were actually given names and a little bit of stories. You got four of them. You have Lunith is the one you start with in the original dungeon.
Yep.
He's just the main protagonist of the game. That's what they call him. Next is Ark. He's another fellow warrior of light, known for his intelligence and kindness. I have Refia. She's a blacksmith's adopted daughter, and she joins the party. And then Ignis, loyal soldier, and the fourth warrior of light joins the group. We're not going to get too deep into them because I really
Yeah.
don't want to focus on the game I didn't actually play that much of.
Yeah, I've started and not finished this particular storyline several times.
Yeah,
It's not particularly interesting to me. But one positive thing I will say is I do like the art style. Um, I think they look very Final Fantasy Tactics.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's I can't remember the name of the artist, and don't think I have time to look it up right now. But all the art for like Final Fantasy games is just like this very beautifully done artwork. Like then you get these little pixel blobs on
Mhm.
the original 3 Nintendo games.
Yeah. Yeah, but the art behind it is actually very
Oh,
good.
fantastic.
They almost look like they almost look like little like Precious Moments figurines.
Oh,
but like
man.
but like a cool anime version of Precious Moments.
Yeah.
Anime Precious Moments.
Does the art for
I'm not
Final
selling this, am I?
No, sorry, I'm kinda looking up. Oh, it's, Yoshitaka Amano does the art for, character designs, illustration, printmaking, painting, and sculpting for the Final Fantasy series.
Nice. Yeah, if you have a moment to Google it, I mean, if you go to like a Final Fantasy fandom wiki or whatever, one of those things, um, a lot of the times when I was looking up hints and stuff on, what the jobs did and how useful they were, like the artwork they pulled for the jobs was from, basically the remake, and it looks good.
Yeah. And speaking of jobs, well, we got 4 crystals, like you mentioned: wind, fire, water, and earth, and each
Yep.
one comes with its own set of jobs. Starting off with the wind crystal, which you find right at the beginning of the game. There's no missing this.
Right.
Actually, there's no technically no missing any of them.
No, they give you the wind crystal right away, right? It's
Yeah,
in the first cave, and they kind of say like, "Here's the wind crystal. Go find the rest of them,
it kind of makes the
warriors of
Onion
light."
Knight a little bit useless once you get to the first town and can kind of upgrade your equipment because you get the warrior, which is good at strong attack. You get the monk, which uses nunchucks there, and
Yeah,
he's a pretty fucking he's kick ass right at the beginning of the
I
game.
like
Then
the monk.
the
Yeah.
white and the black mage as
Yep.
well. You get the red mage, I thought, with the original.
Maybe I don't use red mage. I'm not really sure
I think
why.
you do because I
It's
have it here under the fire crystal, but
Yeah.
I am pretty sure you get it at the first one because I used the red mage over the black mage simply because he has attack power.
What's the all for the attack power? I was gonna say, what's the difference? They can do some limited magic, and they have just a bit better attack. Can they equip swords?
Yeah, that's the reason I
Okay.
used him. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's see,
Um,
and crystal
I just
jobs.
go full black mage. I
Okay,
want
yes.
the
My
I
my
want
notes were a little not done right. Yeah, you get the red mage and the thief in the 3D version.
Yeah, I can't remember because I don't use red mage. My first party was warrior, monk, white mage, black mage, pretty much in that order.
Yeah. So, which what was your party to start off with? What did you use? You just mentioned it, didn't you? I just
Yeah,
completely
those four.
toned
Yeah,
out.
that was my first. Yeah, that was my starting party.
Oh man, I just had like a senior moment.
What
I
did
was
you do
listening.
with the
Yeah.
with the jobs that you have?
Why aren't you working anymore? You're not going to have grandchildren. All right, so let's move on.
Yeah.
The fire crystal has you get once you get the fire crystal, you get a few new jobs. You
Yes.
get the ranger, the knight, you get the thief in the 2D version, the scholar, and then well, I'm just going to skip the 3D version. So you get those four: Ranger, Knight, Thief, and Scholar. And this is a point where they encourage you to use the Scholar.
Yes, it's hinted in the dialogue. They say like if you want to find out something about the next thing, you have to use the scholar, and basically it's like the scholar has a study. I think it's called study,
Yeah.
right? The ability, and it basically tells you the weakness of the enemy that you're fighting and the hit points and all that kind of stuff. And there's an enemy that like shifts elemental types, and so if you use like say fire at the wrong time, you'll actually heal the fucker.
Yeah. But he's still slightly susceptible to just regular damage, and eventually he'll shift over to being susceptible to normal damage, and that's where you give him most of his comeuppance.
Yeah, but if you use the scholar well in this fight, and you time it right, turn wise, because he'll stay on those elementals for like a few turns. If you time it right, you can really take advantage of the weaknesses
Yeah.
and kill him pretty quick.
Well, I used one scholar there, but I didn't very often use his what you call it, study ability there.
No,
No, and even
once
on
I
that main boss, I just kind of you know brute forced him to die.
Yeah, I once I got past that one and I moved on from the scholar.
Yeah,
I think I wanted my black mage back.
yeah. And coming up next, the water crystal is where I
Mhm.
got what I loved. So we had the
Yeah,
geomancer, the very overpowered dragoon, the
dragoon.
Viking, the Dark
Yep.
Knight, the Evoker, and the Bard and the Black Belt.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff, and I got really overwhelmed when I got the water crystal and was like,
Yeah,
"What do
I
I
had
pick?"
way too many choices.
I landed on I had my knight and I left my knight as a knight. That was my warrior. So I went warrior knight, and I was intrigued by the dark knight. But I didn't have the weapons that
Yeah, that was the
yeah.
same with me. That's kinda why I ended up going Dragoon is because the weapons were available, and I
Yes.
wanted a Dark Knight. I was gonna use the Geomancer because they're the summoners, I believe.
I believe so. I went with Viking.
Did you go Viking?
Viking was
I
pretty
think I had
cool.
one of those for a bit.
And here's another thing that I realized. I think your job level within your specific jobs influence your like how things like your attack and defense and hit points and stuff grow, because I had one of my characters become a Viking for a while and leveled up the Viking job for quite a bit, and they're tanks. They're very good. But that character, even when I switched it back to a different job, had the highest hit points of anyone in my party. And I think it's because they spent time as a Viking and their
Yeah,
Viking job was leveled up.
I just looked it up. Yeah, it's factored into the damage and healing calculations of the character's skills, such as magic and all that stuff,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So
so
it
you
just
are
does
correct,
influence.
sir.
If you want to grind and like, do like, I don't know, 15 levels of Viking, that might improve your I don't know, down the line when you want to turn it into like a magus or a summoner, or, or back to a black mage or something like that. You
Yeah.
might have a bit of a stronger black mage because they've got some Viking skill.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
And the bard. I tried the bard for a bit. The
did
bard
you?
sucks. The bard is terrible.
Art always
Um,
sucks.
I mean, maybe I wasn't maybe it's one of those things like a Magikarp where it's like you just have to grind it and it eventually becomes Gyarados and it's awesome. But it's like there was a um, you could sing or whatever, play a tune, and it would heal your party, everyone in the party, but it would only do like 40 hit points.
See, unless it's Jimmy, no bard is good.
Oh, Jimmy's the best bard. What?
South Park. Alright, so, from there, I once I actually, was able to equip 4 dragoons with blood lances, that's what I did. It's 4 dragoons with blood lances, and
Yeah.
almost every enemy except for the undead was just untouchable.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Did you
or sorry,
accidentally kill yourself on an undead every now and
almost,
then?
they all came down, like, 3 of them died, 1 survived, and I managed to flee. I was like, "Whoops, not doing that twice." My entire, like, party was just an absolutely useless, sack of shit for that fight. So I
Yeah.
realized once, it was the undead, I just run away from those fights.
I forgot that, uh concept in the final dungeon, and I think I killed my dragoon on a zombie dragon because he just came down with a jump and just immediately like killed him, like hurt himself for like 4,000 damage.
Yeah. All right, so let's moving on. We have the Earth Crystal jobs, which is pretty much your final bank of, I guess,
Yeah.
real jobs, I guess, because not never found these ones, but there's two extra jobs at the bottom of my list here. Anyways, so the Earth Crystal gives you the Devout, the
Mm-hmm.
Magus, which is a magician that can use white and black magic, the Summoner, the well, it says Sage and Ninja, but it says
Uh,
only 3D. I think the Sage and the Ninja was there.
no, yeah, the Sage and the Ninja were definitely there. There was a in the final dungeon there is a key that you get at some point in the
Oh
game, and then you
yeah,
can like warp yourself to like some sort of weird underworld where there's just
yeah, because
a
that's
bolt.
Last
Yeah,
Crystal Tower, right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
That
you go
whole
down, you get
cave.
all the ultimate weapons there. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
get the last two jobs because I didn't have the proper key.
Oh yeah, I went all the way through and I got the last two jobs, and like the boss fights down there are fun and they are tough.
Oh yeah. Good time,
Yeah.
definitely good time.
Yeah.
My first playthrough, I do remember getting them, and I remember having the ninja because I remember that's all I did, and I just threw my entire inventory at the last boss.
Yes. Yeah, the ninja was the best. I got ninja. Um I think I used, so the devout is the upgraded white mage, but there was one, I think sage was the highest one. So my white mage I turned into a sage.
Yeah.
So my final party was the black knight or the dark knight, the dragoon, the sage, and the ninja.
Yeah, and my final party was Dragoon, Dragoon,
Dragoon,
Dragoon,
dragoon, dragoon.
Dragoon. And it turns out that's not even close enough to actually beat the last boss. Yeah, he just beat the crap out of me. Like hitting him with like 4-digit numbers there, and he just like flicks a finger and knocks out one of my guys.
Yeah, there was I think I did have the most. I mean, I kept the dragoon jumping, but of the ones that I had out, I think that he was kind of the weakest one against the final boss.
Well,
Although,
knowing now that spending some time leveling up the other jobs there, like you could just kind of rotate everybody through the jobs and get the benefit of everything. So
yeah.
next playthrough, I'll do that. I'll spend more time on the jobs themselves.
Um, what was it? Oh, the ninja. You didn't have the ninja, but if you grind enough and get enough money, to buy like a handful of shurikens, those like throwing
Yeah, they're
stars,
expensive as fuck.
they're very expensive, but I mean, if you really want to, you can cheese the Pixel Remaster and put
Yeah.
Gil Boost onto and get a bunch of money. But um, throwing, I had two in my inventory that I had pulled out of treasure chests, and I threw them in the final battle and did like one of them did 9,999,
Nice.
and another one did like I don't know, like
6.
8,500 or something like that. It was insane amounts of damage. So if you
But
have
so what you're saying is 4 ninjas and a bunch of ninja stars.
no, I'm saying you balance your party, dude.
Balance?
Balance? What's that?
But ninjas are cool. Haven't you ever seen Naruto?
Yeah. Yeah, the Naruto run. I love that.
Oh yeah.
But ninjas are also really great in Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah.
I adore the ninja class. It is the best.
Yeah, it's I definitely like the ninja class, but you're right. Like I said, I was just trying to get through the story this time, and I thought I could just cheese the game.
Yeah.
But my first playthrough, I spent the time like searching around and finding everything so that I could actually get the ninja. And I had a balanced party. I had a black, pretty sure, and I still have the save file, but I think I had a black knight, a ninja, summoner, and sage.
Nice.
Just kind of get a little bit of everything going.
I played Summoner for a while, and I enjoyed gathering and being able to use all the summons, but
Well, I went and found
yeah.
Bahamut there, and I was gonna fucking use Bahamut.
Yeah. Yeah, Bahamut. Yeah, that's the best one.
Yeah, because he's a side quest. You see him very early in the game on top of a mountain, then he disappears, and then you have to go find him in a side quest.
Yeah. Yeah, with the invincible, you have to go back and go through the first part of the game with the invincible, and there's a place where you can hop over and get them. And then there's also Leviathan too. kind of the
Yeah,
same type of
same
um,
area-ish.
concept, yeah. But Leviathan is like swimming around in like a pond.
Yeah, both are good
And
fights too. Like, not
yeah.
overly hard by the time you find them, but definitely a worthwhile
Oh,
endeavor.
Leviathan was definitely one of those times where I only had my Dragoon left, and I was just like chasing around trying to revive my party members when they'd get wiped out. And finally, like Leviathan kept using the tidal wave or tsunami or
Oh
whatever
yeah,
and killing my whole party. But the Dragoon would have jumped, and it just ended up being timed just right where the Dragoon would jump down, attack, get hit with the tsunami, jump back up, and I had the Blood Lance, so he was doing tons of damage
yeah.
and reviving himself. And so
Well,
everyone was dead except for my Dragoon.
that was the thing. I had the 4 dragoons, and they're all jumping, and with the blood lance, they'd come down. The tidal wave was nothing. I don't know. I
Oh
think I
yeah.
might have made the game a little bit too easy up until the end.
Yeah, I basically there were several times when my whole party was dead and my Dragoon was just like jumping. I was like, "Come on,
Yeah,
come on, come on."
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, so we got a couple of antagonists here before we
Yeah.
get into the kind of the NPCs of interest. The big baddie in this game, because your Kefka or your Sephiroth of Final Fantasy III is called Zande,
Yeah.
Zandy.
Yeah, Zand or Xander.
He was one of the 3 something or other, the 3 ancients there, and he's just kinda decided to be a dick about it.
Yeah.
So, he wants to disrupt the balance of the light and dark, and, wants to exploit the powers of the crystals, so, usual bad guy stuff.
He was kind of blah.
It really, because you don't see him much in the game. Like, you take,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy IV, and you really kinda see the antagonist throughout the entire game, and it feels
That's yeah.
really like you actually are chasing them. Same with Final Fantasy VI, because you're against the Empire. Final Fantasy VII, you see
Right.
Sephiroth early.
I like that. That's what I like about those games is like you see them and you see uh how much they're gonna fuck you up. Like Sephiroth like comes through and you see how you actually get a chance to in a flashback like fight a battle with him, quote
Yeah,
unquote. And he does like just insane amounts of damage. It's like, oh, I am not ready for this.
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
So I better like go through this game and train up and stuff before I can even think about fighting this guy.
yeah,
I think
and
that's cool. And you didn't see that with Zand.
and the thing about Zan too is you also have the Cloud of Darkness, who is an otherworldly entity manipulating Zand or Zandy and seeking
Mhm.
to engulf the world in darkness. So even then, Zand was being, manipulated. So he was kind of the big bad guy, but not really. So Cloud of Darkness would be your final boss of Final Fantasy III, and nobody ever remembers Cloud of Darkness as one of the best Final Fantasy bosses.
Yeah, it's kind of clever how they did it because when you first fight Cloud of Darkness after you defeat Zand, it just completely wipes the floor with you. And then you
Yeah,
get revived and get sent into another final dungeon, and it's like, whoa, there's more game back here. But this is where I think the original, if this holds true in the original NES version, I'm not sure, but like this game is hard as fuck
that's what
because you
I've
have
heard
to go
that.
through this whole thing with no save. Like there's no save states or
No.
anything. I mean, you're going to be up all night trying to, and managing your items and your party, trying to get through all this. Hopefully you're leveled up enough.
Yeah, well, that's the difficulty of the old NES games there.
Yeah.
But
I think thank you Square Enix for quality of life improvements and different
absolutely, yeah.
things like that make enjoyable games more enjoyable.
Yeah. All right. So throughout the game, you have a couple of minor, I guess, antagonists there. First one I have written down is Goldor, who has
Yeah.
he owns the Tower of Owen and hoards the Crystal of Earth for his personal gain, and his entire palace is gold.
Doesn't
And
he has like a false crystal though, doesn't he?
yeah, he does. He ends up having a false crystal, but this is where I first learned about the magic key. So you can on the first near the first town after you get the airship that can kind of travel around.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you'll find the town, and the guy sells these magic keys there, and you can buy just a brick ton of them, and
Oh
then
yeah.
they open up locked doors
Yeah.
throughout the game, and you'll need them for that final big dungeon where all the weapons are.
Yep.
But
I bought a ton of those.
yeah, Goldor, yeah, so did I. Goldor's palace has a bunch of doors and treasure chests, and you get like this lineup of gold swords, and they're
Mhm.
useless as swords, but they're worth a lot of money.
Yeah. I was like, there's a There's a room with a comical number of chests, like just next to, like side by side, for like a
Yeah, that's
screen
all
or
the
two's
gold
worth.
swords is. Okay.
Yeah, and you just gold sword, gold sword, gold sword. I
Yeah.
was like, this is a joke, right? Like
Yeah, but
what?
then you look at them and they're like absolute garbage. But then
Yeah,
you
they're
take them to
terrible.
the store, you sell them all. It's just like, oh, it was just a nice way to give you a few extra bucks.
Yeah, they're worth like 2,500 gil or something like that. So you sell this stack of like 20 of them and you get a good chunk of money that you can then buy actual good weapons with.
Yeah. All right, so
Like blood
moving.
lances.
Yeah, blood lance. Gotta have the blood lance or the blood sword.
Their blood sword was good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so the next guy is Gutsko, a thief who steals a horn of ice, and the horn of ice is needed to protect the water crystal or unlock the water crystal. I can't remember
Hmm.
which one. He causes havoc in the village of the Vikings, so you end up in a big fight with him. But yeah, I don't really remember much about him. He was just kind of blah. Like
Yeah,
he,
I gotta look up Gutsco.
well,
It's like,
you get the horn. Like he steals one of them. You go down into the dungeon. You kill him. You get the
oh
horn
yeah,
back. Then you give it to the Vikings. The Vikings put it down and release their barrier, and then he goes and steals both of them. And then you go to the water crystal level, and then you beat him again and get the horns.
his design is kind of cool. In
Yeah,
the Pixel Remaster, in the 3D remake, he looks like trash, but
everybody looks like trash in 3D.
he's like a big he's like a big burly dude that's got like this giant snake that he's holding. It's like wrapped around him. He looks cool.
Yeah.
He's got one wing.
Oh
That's
my god,
badass.
that's how it all started.
Yeah, one winged angel. The original is Gutsco.
Yeah. The final one I have written down is just General Hein. He's just a subordinate of Zandy there, and he works out to carry his plans. And he kind of just general dickhead to the Warriors of Light.
General Hein.
Yeah, that's how
Oh,
memorable he is.
that's not Final Fantasy. That's like, oh no, it is.
That's
Oh,
that's kind
he's
of
a
one.
recurring character, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of one of these uh, things about this game is not a lot of the characters are really memorable.
No, not really.
Yeah,
It was fine. I had more fun with the gameplay than I did the story. I guess like
yeah, like the
just
story.
progressing from crystal to crystal and playing around with the jobs and
Yeah, the story really is flat. But yeah, these are the guys I found. These are the guys I kind of had a little bit of memory when I was writing the notes. But then
yeah.
you got a couple of NPCs of interest, and the first one you meet is, of course, the series introduction to the series. I believe. I think it's this or Final Fantasy II. You have Sid Hayes.
Sid.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Sid is again, and he's an airship engineer because that's what Sid does. Except for
Yep.
Final Fantasy 15, where he's a car mechanic.
Wow, that's
Uh,
dumb.
Yeah, but he starts out, and the first thing he does is give you your first airship that can't float over mountains, so you're kind of stuck in this
Yeah.
little area, and then that becomes your, I think, main airship for later, or you crash it and then get another one. I can't remember how it works.
I like his design in the Pixel
Yeah, the
remaster. He looks like
little stubby guy.
he's like a little garden gnome.
Yeah, and his wife or his wife is sick, so you have to find an elixir to heal her, and when you do, nothing really big happens.
He is definitely not the like cool cigarette smoking dragoon from Final Fantasy VII. He's like a little toad man.
Yeah. Second one you'll find is the Princess of Sassoon, Sarah, who plays a pivotal role in the Water Crystal storyline. So she follows you around for the Water Crystal. She's the only one who can do something with it. Man, my brain just went blank.
Oh, she had like there was like a shard of it that she had to like
Oh,
reassemble
that's
or
right.
something like that.
Yeah,
I thought for sure she was gonna double cross and like actually be a monster or something like that. I was like waiting for her to actually be the
yeah. You meet her halfway like into a dungeon, though, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Yeah. Very trusting.
spoiler, let's put a spoiler here, and if you don't want to hear this, skip ahead like 30 seconds. But this getting the water crystal and having the water drop and reveal like two or three more continents was like
That
the
was
best
amazing.
part.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite parts of this game. I was like, "Oh, this is cool that there's like kind of a second island beyond the main island of the game." That part was cool. And then it was like, "Well, it's mostly water." And then for it to not be water, like it all these continents rise. It's just like, "Whoa.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 3 coming in hot."
Absolutely. So after you get that and you get all the like the land back, and of course everybody was turned to stone. That's why nobody drowned. So
Right.
they
Oh
all come
yeah.
back to life with no memory of what happened. But then you run into somebody called Doga and Une. Une is sleeping in a cave. She's the Ancient of Dreams. I can't remember the exact title she has, and
Yeah.
Doga was one of the other ancients.
Hmm.
So you have to find an item to wake up Une, and then her and Doga end up fighting you for a reason. Can't remember what the reason was. I think it was to get the
Um,
Earth Crystal.
it was something weird. It was like you have to fight us, and then your character kind of like protests a little bit, like,
Yeah,
"No, we
no,
don't
I
want
don't
to fight
kill
you."
you. Then you kill them anyways, like good boys,
Yeah,
girls.
I liked the fights against them. That was cool. It was like a way to fight them or a way to work in that you needed to fight them without them turning on you.
Yeah, and they're just two characters that kind of unveil the entirety of Xande and his role in the story. And you meet him fairly. I wouldn't say fairly late. Probably you meet Doga midway through the game, and then Une you'll meet just about an hour or two later.
Yeah, and it's yeah, it's nice. It's kind of like a Star Wars thing where they sacrifice themselves to become spirits and help you in their. It's like an Obi-Wan Kenobi thing, like Luke. You
Yeah.
have no idea.
No, I'm not a
You're
big
like,
Star Wars guy. You know this.
whatever, Star War.
Star
Yeah,
Wars.
but those two do that kind of thing where they turn into spirits and can help you from the spirit
Yeah, and
realm.
they
Yeah,
show up a little bit around the end of the game. They're just I guess plot armor their way through the end.
yeah, they're your Force Ghost helpers.
But let's put a big spoiler mark on this point because let's talk
Yeah.
about the actual like big twist that you really loved about the game. So we're gonna go about
Oh yeah.
maybe 2 minutes into this, and it's gonna be a bit of a spoiler here about a big event that happens a couple hours into the game. So
Yeah, and it actually solved one of my criticisms of what I had played of the game so far going in, which was I thought the world was very
small,
small.
yeah.
Yeah. And I was wondering why you could walk around the entire circumference of it basically. Like it,
And
it was
I
yeah,
thought it was just lazy. Like at
me
first,
too.
I was like, "Well, the Nintendo cartridge is pretty small, so obviously
Yeah.
the world can't be that big." Then it
Yeah.
was like, I thought it was just lazy that they even put like sky as the background, and it was looked
Hmm.
like it was below you. I thought like, "Well, come on, smarten the fuck up, right?"
Yeah.
But
But then
then,
they tell you to fly off the edge of it.
yeah, and you do, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, there's this map about maybe 10, 20 times the size, and it's all
Yeah.
covered in water, and it was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Especially
Um
considering you only got the one crystal up on the top there.
yeah, and that was a pretty significant chunk of the game is spent on that first sky island, I guess you would call it. And then you leave it
Skyland.
and Skyland. Uh that I just was like, whoa! And then we mentioned it before in the earlier spoiler about the water crystal, but the I was like, first of all impressed, and then it kind of wore off because I was like, well, this is mostly water, right?
Yeah.
But then huge continents rise out of that water once you get the water crystal,
Well, the
and it's
first time I went down, I thought, well, maybe because the first one you got was wind crystal, and then it
yeah.
was the water crystal, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe we're gonna go down another layer and you'll get the earth crystal, then another
Oh,
layer and get the fire crystal, and
that would have been kind of neat.
yeah, but it
We've been going
obviously
to
didn't
hell.
work out that way. But I thought that
No,
was how it was going to do, like do 4 layers of kick-ass worlds. But
right.
it still was pretty neat the way they actually handled the story.
Was incredible. It blew my mind because it's like, of course, this was part of the original game. Like the Pixel Remaster wouldn't be that much different. But it's like, oh, once the continents rose, I was like, this is fucking Final Fantasy III. I have
Yeah.
not played Final Fantasy III. This is Final Fantasy III.
Yeah, absolutely. I just absolutely loved it.
Yeah, that
Any place in the world that you found particularly good? Like you had that big kingdom there that was behind the walls, and then you activated by
yes,
running your airship into the big tower.
that was fun. I did enjoy the castle and that whole. I kind of was just happened upon it because I came back and picked it up later and didn't remember or blew past the dialogue that tells you where to go. But flying your airship into that like castle area and then you get shot down onto the sky.
Yeah, and I don't
And I
think
was
they
like,
actually told you to go there. I think it was just like a natural step to fly around and eventually run
yeah.
into it.
Well, I did, and luckily it didn't take me all that long. But it was like I could have. I mean, I might not have gone in that exact area where you get shot down, but it was another one of those moments where I was like, God damn it, I lost my ship again. I just got this back. Because you have to like basically someone traps your ship for a while and you have to fight Goldor, I think, in order to release your ship. And then basically you fly to this next castle and they blow it out of the sky. It's like I just got it back out of impound.
Yeah, like it
And
was
then
chained up to the
yeah.
land there. Yeah, that was kind of neat, but all at the same time, I mean, chain was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. It was funny because you could get into the boat and try to sail away and like it would extend the chain and whip it back. I thought
Yeah.
that was cool.
Um.
But the sorry, the boats like or the airships that keep getting destroyed just remind me of the Big Lebowski in his car. Like
Oh
keeps getting
yeah.
just it's like, come on. Not the car, man.
Oh man, but of the airships there, we had the Invincible, the Nautilus, and then
The
that first
Nautilus.
one.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of the Invincible. I mean, I like how it was kind of a store on wheels there, but I
Yeah.
like the Nautilus. I like going underwater and then looking for stuff.
Yeah. Because there was a cave underwater under this like little teeny tiny island in the corner that had some really good items in it.
Yeah, and I went to
Yeah.
that one because obviously a triangle island you're going to go to.
Yeah. And there is a character, there is an NPC that tells you to go there too.
Yeah. Oh,
That's how I found it. But
yeah.
yeah, I love the Nautilus. And it was fast.
Oh yeah, but the other thing was you could only have obviously one airship at a time, so you had to park the Nautilus in a place, and then you'd take the Invincible out. Then you'd need the Nautilus again, like when you had to go back and talk to what's his name there,
I think it was Unai or whatever was
yeah, Doga
underwater.
down that
Yeah.
windy
Oh yeah.
passage.
Yeah,
You
that was
couldn't
it.
take the Invincible, so you had to go back and find the Nautilus, and of course, the Nautilus is parked in between some mountains that the Invincible barely fits in.
Oh, I pulled them both out.
Oh,
I
did
like went
you?
and parked it and canoed back and then pulled it out. Yeah, I didn't want to
Oh,
deal with that again.
that might have been smart. I just dealt with it.
You just sit there like, damn it. You're like,
Yeah.
it's
Know, it's
like,
beep, beep,
it's
beep, 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 fucking beep, 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 beep. I guess you don't.
there's that SpongeBob where he's trying to like parallel park the Flying Dutchman
Yeah,
ship. That's am I good? Am I good? That's how I felt like navigating the Invincible through that stuff.
yeah. Fuck. But it's funny because you have the Invincible, and there's a bunch of towers, and every tower is represented by kind of a crystal there. So you
Yeah.
have to break the towers to get to the final boss area, and the Invincible will bounce off it, and so will the Nautilus, because even if you have all the crystals, and it was starting to piss me off because I couldn't remember how to break them, and it turns out you just have to walk through them,
Yeah.
then go back and get the Invincible.
Which was like, why did I
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
like, what was the point of that? What was the point of making me walk?
That that part was kind of weird because I saw those four gates and it was like, well, you need the fangs of it was like, oh, I've
That's
kind
what
of
the
been
fangs
low
were.
key
Yeah.
collecting these fangs too.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was like, well, you got this fang, and it was like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm looking for crystals, so
yeah, that's what the Horn of Ice was. It was the fang.
yeah.
Like, I don't know why
Yeah.
it's written as the Horn of Ice here, but,
I think that's what they call it, but it is the ice fang.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
you get 1 per crystal there, and, yeah, that's what lets you through those towers, but you have to walk through them because apparently flying is just
Right.
not good. But another neat thing about the Invincible is during the battles, it would start out by launching a salvo.
Yeah, I love that. It didn't do that much, but it was
No,
cool.
it was just enough to kinda let them know that you're seriously about to launch your dragoons.
Yeah. Yeah. We're
Yeah.
gonna fire cannons and then all four of us are gonna jump up into the air.
Somehow land in the middle of air and bounce back on the ship.
Yep.
Alright, so what did you
Cool
think
stuff.
about, anything else about the levels or the worlds you wanna bring up before we kinda start wrapping up here?
Yeah, I mean we already did the spoilers. It blew my mind. So if you're coming in or coming back in after skipping the
Yeah,
spoiler portions,
we said 2 minutes, and it's been like 10.
yeah. Well, no, I think we set the stuff up. Hopefully we set the stuff up top and
We didn't. Talk
well,
about
yeah, it just that part blew my mind.
Yeah, some kid is
And for
gonna
that,
write in on us and just be like, "You ruined this game for me. I have no hope in adulthood anymore."
well, thanks for listening.
Yeah. Go to bed.
Go to bed, you little shit. Yeah, no, this is a great game.
Yeah.
Bosses were fun. You know, some of them were pushovers, but some of them had some bite to them. Like I said, I ended up with just my lone dragoon jumping left and
Yeah.
like hanging on by a thread. So it was fun. There was some challenge there.
Now, I know graphics wise, it's not really fair to compare this to the original game, but graphically, would you think of the Pixel Remaster? And did you actually look at the original game at all? Any pictures or videos or anything?
I didn't, but the Pixel Remaster is gorgeous.
Oh,
It's
it
and
is.
you can do all kinds of fun stuff in the menus on all of the Pixel Remasters, not just this one. So I found myself toggling back and forth between um, the original soundtrack, the 8-bit
Yeah.
obviously soundtrack, and then the orchestrated soundtrack. And like the music in this game is incredible.
Even the original music's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
with the amount of sound, like amount of tracks they have throughout the game.
Yeah, like the boss music is so good, and I was like, the next boss I fight, I'm gonna do 8-bit. I want to hear what this sounds like in 8-bit. It's like
Yeah, it's I did the same thing. I toggled the music back and forth. I'd walk into a town, I'd toggle to 8-bit, then
yeah.
listen to a bit and then toggle back. And there's like obviously the Pixel Remaster soundtrack is a lot better, but I did not hate the 8-bit soundtrack.
No, I actually flipped it and forgot and just played a significant portion of the game with the 8-bit soundtrack, and it sounded just fine. It was great.
Yeah, and that's the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
What about the battle system? Anything you want to bring up about the battle system? Like it's pretty standard menu
Yeah.
based Final Fantasy battle system.
I like that. I prefer that
Yeah.
actually. I don't mind the ATB in the later games. I think it makes the gameplay more dynamic, but sometimes you just like to sit back and button mash a menu. I'm good with it. I find these types of games very calming and comforting. I enjoy them quite a bit.
Yeah, I enjoy it too. Like I do like the occasional action game. The newer Final Fantasies aren't hitting with me as well as these
Mhm.
older Final Fantasies are because of the
Yeah.
more action oriented battle system. I mean,
Yeah.
Remake did it well, but I still prefer the Pixel Gate Final Fantasies over anything past 7 and up.
Yeah, I mean, I've played part of remake, and it was the same. That's part of why I didn't get as into it as I probably should, and I will go back and play it. But it's just like, man, I like my turn based. I just like to
Yeah,
I like taking
absolutely.
turns. Everyone take a turn, and then be nice and take turns, and I'll kill you.
Yeah, alright. So, one last point until we go into the final thoughts here. What did you think of the difficulty level of this game? Too high, not enough, you want more, daddy?
I actually got really irritated with the end of the game because the ramp up was just
Yeah.
insane. It
This is
was
not
like
the first game we've played that's done that, Phantasy
no,
Star looking at you.
oh, Fantasy Star, yeah, fucking. But this also had something that Fantasy Star had, where you needed to do something in order to fight the final boss, or he would just kill you immediately. And if you didn't know that, or didn't figure it out, and you're playing the original version back in the day, it's like you have invested probably hours of time in this final dungeon and only to be turned aside again.
Oh, yeah?
Um,
You had to do something specific? I didn't know that.
yeah, well, there were 4 mini bosses in that final dungeon before you fight the what did we call this? The spirit of Zand or whatever, the cloud of darkness, right? So
Oh,
the
right,
cloud of
right.
darkness will just kill you. But you have to activate these like so you're the warriors of light and you have to go down and find the warriors of darkness who are like your kind of like antithesis down there, and there's like little mini bosses to fight, 4 of them. um and oh, the other thing that we didn't really mention is some of these caves and dungeons and stuff are full of these like hidden passages.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a key component to the exploration of the game, and they're kind of easy to suss out in the Pixel Remaster, but I cannot imagine
No, I
that they
think
are
the
easy to find.
original is pretty much, "Oh, look, I had to hit every wall to figure out where to go."
Yeah, and I think that would get frustrating. So I really enjoy the quality of life improvements where you can kind of see a little crack in the wall and then you walk through it. They're not all the most obvious, but um, there are some that are difficult to find, but
Yeah.
you kind of understand that that's expected of you.
Yeah, and most of the walls are marked anyways.
Yeah.
And if you look actually, if you walk into, one of them and you look at the mini map, and that's another thing about the
Yeah.
Pixel Remaster is, you have a mini map instead of having to get those, items to have a map.
Yeah. I like that.
But if you're inside of a tunnel and you look at the mini map or the whole map, it'll actually see all the tunnels in the level, so you can kind of plan out where you want to go.
I did it. I did like that quite
Yeah,
a bit.
it was kind of cheap, but at the same
Yeah.
time, sped the game up a little bit, so you're not just slamming into walls.
Yeah, this playing the original NES version of this game would be just a real grind. I think it would be very difficult. But I would say, yeah, difficulty it definitely ramps up because I was walking through the game and not walking through it. I mean, I was having a little bit of difficulty with some of the bosses, but I was holding my own for all of the game until the very end, and then just got my shit kicked in
Yeah,
basically by those mini bosses. Like I couldn't beat a single one of them. I had to level up 10 additional levels. So that's
yeah,
where I used the boost. I was like, okay, I gotta finish this game. I've been playing it for a long
yeah,
time.
just to see the ending there.
Yeah.
All right, so Sam, I'm going to let you go first, and kind of, I know you just kind of got off a big rant there, but do you want to summarize your entire opinion and give your score on this game?
Yeah. It's a great game. I mean, we played the Pixel Remaster, and I think that's kind of how it should be played. I think it took and improved on all of the previous versions and made this the definitive version of this game. It's not technically retro because it's the new version of the game, but it's based on a retro game. It's in the retro style. If we're talking Pixel Remaster, I give this like a oh man, it's like a 9. It's good. It's
You're
what
going to
it's
give it a
my
straight
favorite of
nine?
the first three. Yeah,
All right.
I give it a 9.
All right, so that's good. I agree with you. The Pixel Remaster is the way to play it. Obviously, with the way the original Nintendo is, and how hard it is to find as well. You absolutely have to play the Pixel Remaster, and
Yeah,
the quality of life improvements. Again, as you have said, just absolutely make it a perfect game to play. I'm not going to give it a 9 because there are a couple of things in the game. Like I said, using the dragoons kind of made the game a little bit too easy until the
yeah.
end.
You don't have to do that though.
No, you don't. I mean, it was my choice, but
That's your problem.
yeah. Well, you know what? Fine, I'll give it a 9. No, I'm not going to give it a 9. Screw you. You know what? I'm
That's
giving it a
fine.
lower score now.
Oh, even lower
Yeah,
because I argued for
but I
it.
was going to give it an 8.5. That was
Yeah.
mine. It like you said, it's great. It's not my favorite Final Fantasy game, and it actually doesn't even hit the top 3.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
it's definitely from the first playthrough. It jumped high up on my list of Final Fantasy games.
I'd say oh gosh, I mean, you got 7, you got 9. 10 was okay. I would say no, 10 was good, but it wasn't my favorite. I would say this is probably because this I will say with an asterisk, this is probably one of my top 3 Final Fantasy games that I've played, and I've not played 4, 5, and 6 yet. So this actually makes me more excited to play 4, 5, and 6, especially 5.
Yeah, 5
Yeah,
really improved the job system. 4
yeah,
improved the storytelling, and then 6
yeah.
just kind of it just knocked it out of the park for me.
Yeah. So I'm more excited now, and I was already excited to play those. I
Yeah.
just knew I wanted to play them in order and play 3 first.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll probably push on to 4 sometime in the near future there. Just keep the Final Fantasy trade rolling.
Hell yeah, I'll keep
Oh,
that cartridge in my rotation.
and my nose is starting to get clogged, so I can't actually finish syllables. Jesus.
Just do a snot rocket. Come
Oh
on.
yeah, just all right, everybody, turn up your volume and
Yeah.
all right. We have a tier list here, so we might as well put it on the tier list. And I'm kind of interested in what you are going to call this for the tier ranking.
I would say I don't have to think about it much. I don't have to like reference back to the tier list and like kind of match it up to other games that I like as much. I'm gonna put this in the A tier.
I'm gonna put it right in the A tier.
Yeah, right in
I
the right in the A.
right in the A, buddy, right in the A. I'm not going to disagree with you simply because I know there are better Final Fantasy games out there,
hmm
but this one has the makings of an S tier game.
Yes,
But yeah, I'll stick it in the A tier with you. I'll just stick it right in your A.
stick it right in the A. I really yeah could hear the argument for S tier, but again, like you said, I know that there are other games that are probably more deserving and will really save that S tier for those really special games. But this is almost there.
Yeah,
It's like an A plus tier.
yeah. This is enough to get honors from the dean.
Yes,
I
for
don't
sure.
know what that's referencing, but
I don't either, but it
this is
works.
what happens when I do 2 things at once. I, like, write a little note in my book there, and then I'm trying to think and talk at the same time, and my brain just shuts down. But speaking of shutting down, that's gonna do it for another episode of Retrotopia. Sam, you're not here next week, so I'm gonna be
I'm
kinda
not.
riding the intro solo, but what game do we choose from the 2 that we have in the backlog?
Yeah, I believe we are taking 1943 next week. So
Mm,
that's right.
that's a good
Yeah,
game. It's a good
yeah,
fun arcade game.
yeah. 1943 for the arcade, and I played the arcade version at work on the arcade machine,
Yeah,
and
absolutely,
then I
because
played.
you work at a fun place, apparently.
Yeah, sometimes.
Alright.
Yeah, and then an NES port, which is I think a little bit. Well, it's not better, but it's also good.
It's a parallel move.
Yeah. So 1943, fun game. We're really hitting the Capcom games pretty hard here.
Yeah, absolutely. Soon this will be a Capcom fanboy, podcast, and until next time, Sam, send us away.
Keep on gaming, everybody.
Yay.